I'm Anna. I'm one of our occasional preachers here at St Paul's, and this is a new venture for us. We're so glad that you can join us this morning. We are, as we always do in times of difficulty, turning to Scripture, and the Scripture that we're going to be looking at this morning is 1 Corinthians 12, reading from verse 31 through to chapter 13, verse 13. So 1 Corinthians 12, verse 31 to chapter 13, verse 13. Now eagerly desire the greater gifts, and yet I will show you the most excellent way. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor, and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonour others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection, as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these things remain, these three things: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. I wonder what you eagerly desire. We are living through strange times, and I suspect that 3 weeks or a month ago even we would have answered this question quite differently. Then we might have eagerly desired a week in the sun, a promotion at work, to do well in our exams, to achieve a personal best in a park run. Now, in this weird new world we find ourselves in, we might eagerly desire to watch the news and it not all be about the coronavirus, to live without fear of having to self-isolate, to live without constant worry about vulnerable family or friends or neighbours. Our passage today began by urging us in verse 31 to eagerly desire the greater gifts. And in order to know what Paul is talking about, we need to look back at chapter 12, which talks about spiritual gifts and lists them in verses 8 to 10 as gifts of wisdom, knowledge, faith, healing, miraculous powers, prophecy, distinguishing between spirits, speaking in different kinds of tongues. And again, towards the end of the chapter, in verses 27 and 28, Paul speaks of those who are called to be apostles, teachers, prophets, to work miracles and healing, helping, guiding, and speaking different kinds of tongues. I wonder which of these spiritual gifts you would plump for if you had a choice. I wonder how you would like to be described: as a miracle worker, perhaps, a healer, a prophet. None of these are bad things, but our passage is unapologetically, unequivocally clear that while these things might be good, they are not the most important. They might be desirable, But there is something greater. What we should eagerly desire is something that is timeless, transforming, life-giving. It was relevant when Paul wrote these words and has remained relevant throughout history. This truth was as relevant a month ago, pre-coronavirus panic, as it is today. This message is one which will guide how we respond to this crisis and every other crisis that we face in the future. This passage is so familiar. It can wash over us. We can almost switch off because we know what it says. We've heard these words countless times at weddings and in films, in books and Bible studies, but my goodness, what words. What we should eagerly desire above all else is love. And when I preach, this is always where I end up, because as Paul says so eloquently, whatever else we say or do or think, whatever else we achieve, if there is no love, then what's the point? If I achieve that promotion at work, if I get the best exam results or become a prophet extraordinaire, but do not give or receive love, then what does any of it matter? Love is described in verses 4 to 8 in the most beautiful and uncompromising language. Let's have a look at those words again. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonour others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. And love is a two-way street. We all want to be treated like this, but we also have to treat others like it too. It's not enough to just receive it, to take God's love and that of those around us, but behave selfishly. Love is both received and given. If we were to keep these words on us, stick them on the fridge, carry them in our pocket, tattoo them on our arms, if we were to keep to these principles as a spouse, as a parent, as a neighbour, a boss, a friend, a son or daughter, how different would our behaviour be? These are beautiful words, but my goodness, they're challenging. I mean, I'm some of these some of the time. I can be patient with my children for a bit, but to do it always protect, always trust, always hope, always persevere, to never fail. Today is Mothering Sunday. And as we often acknowledge, it can be a difficult day. Not all of us are or have mothers, but the Bible speaks of God's love for us as being parental. And although we often refer to God as Father, the Bible also refers to God as Mother. In Isaiah 49, it says, "Can a woman forget her nursing child or show no compassion for the child of her womb? Even these may forget. Yet I will not forget you. See, I have inscribed you on the palms of my hands." Writing in the 14th century, Julian of Norwich said, "As truly as God is our Father, so truly is God our Mother." I wonder what it would look like this Lent, this Easter, in these strange and unprecedented times to show love like this. Earlier this week, the Diocese of Aberdeen and Orkney published a commentary on this picture. We're going to try and put it on the screen, but I'll hold it up as well. And it's called "An Old Woman Standing by a Window" by Wilhelm Hammershoy. It says, "A woman stands alone, an elderly woman. The picture has a sadness to it. The loneliness and isolation in this picture are striking. In front of her, the walls of the room are dark, increasing the feeling that there's a barrier between the woman and the world. There's a window. So although the woman might see out, the sense is that she cannot be seen. There is the possibility that she has been forgotten, out of sight, out of mind. In all, what we have here is a careful picture about isolation and old age, of the consequences of being separated from life beyond the interior of this house. There will be some listening in today who are fearful that this crisis will result in being isolated, alone, perhaps forgotten. This is a very different sermon to the one that I initially conceived. Love looks very different in this very particular season. What, I wonder, does it look like for us as a community to support those who feel alone and isolated? To show love to those that we cannot see or touch? To support those who suffer with anxiety? We're going to have to be creative in order to maintain community and to avoid that feeling of being out of sight, out of mind. Sally announced last week that we're launching a phone support service where you can sign up to make or receive a phone call each week. This is what love might look like at this time. We might need to offer to take food or other things to those who are isolated. This is what love might look like at this time. We might need to check on our neighbours and friends to use the phone, Skype or email. This is what love might look like at this time. We are forced to miss precious times of community with our church family. And while we can listen to teaching and sermons and podcasts and the like online, it's harder to recreate community. We might need to deliberately arrange to pray simultaneously and then follow up with a phone call or a WhatsApp message. This is what love might look like at this time. The final part of our passage today is a reminder that everything is a season. This too will pass. Verse 8 says, "Where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. Only one thing will remain." And I love verse 12. "For now we see only a reflection, as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known." And what a beautiful and poignant picture that is for a time of doubt and fear. A reminder that we are fully known, and that while now we may see each other through a screen or hear each other through a phone, that one day we will see each other again. And not only each other, but also the author and the perfecter of our faith, face to face. When we meet for prayer and pastries on a Thursday morning, we're currently using some beautiful Lenten prayers, including this one, which precedes our confession. We come to God, aware that we need God with every fibre of our being. We want nothing to stand between us. We draw near, and as we are held, we slowly dare to look into the face of the one who holds us. And gradually, our own faces and our lives begin to reflect his beauty. As we reflect on this strangest of Mothering Sundays, I love this image, that picture of a loving parent holding their child and gazing enraptured into their face. My prayer for these uncertain times is that you will feel held, and that as we look into the face of the one who holds us, our own faces and our lives will begin to reflect his beauty, his love. And now these things remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. We don't know what the next few days or weeks or months will hold, but we live in faith, in hope, and in love. Let us hold fast to the God who promises in Isaiah 49, we looked at the words earlier, "I will not forget you. See, I have inscribed you on the palms of my hand. So may you know the blessing of the God who made you, knows you, and will never forget you. May you know that you are written on the palm of his hand, and you are loved. Amen.